The next one is cultural differences. Well, different communities residing in the same country also have their own culture. Every culture has its own customs and norms. According to the cultural belief, people have their own mindset. This can cause a barrier in the communication. Hence, preparing yourself not to let such mindset affect your communication is very much important. For example, maintaining distance while communicating with opposite gender. It is considered that there has to be a specific distance that should be maintained according to the culture of that particular society. You are not allowed to go too very close to any of the females while communicating in few cultures. So, not being aware of these internal norms of a particular culture may lead to barrier in the communication process. The next barrier is poor listening skills. Not paying attention to someone's talks is a quite common problem. Hearing is not enough, as discussed earlier. There is a vast difference between hearing and listening to someone carefully. To comprehend a message clearly, it is very much necessary to be mentally present in the conversation and not only showing off that you're paying attention, but actually paying attention to the speaker's speech. According to the human tendency, people are always interested in knowing what's in it for me. What is it there that would benefit me? Why should I pay attention to somebody's speech or somebody who is trying to talk unless there is some benefit in that conversation or in that particular talk for me? And this sort of particular psychology leads to a poor listening skill. People generally find the communication interesting while something is being discussed about them or the matter which is related to them. And hence, because of this natural psychology of human beings, paying attention to something which is not at all related to you, but it is very much important to make the communication successful and to get the message across successfully is little crucial. For example, in the corporate world, if there is a meeting that is being conducted to discuss the new strategies that has to be formed to overcome the less production of last year, all the points should be carefully listened by each and every member of that meeting. This is very much important to make sure that everybody understands the discussion properly and the new strategies are formed with the help of everybody's inputs, and it would lead to a better success for the organization. If any of these employees are mentally absent at such meeting, it might happen that they have something very much valuable to contribute for the new strategies that would lead to a successful decision that would actually help to resolve a particular problem. But only because of the absence of their mind and not listening properly may lead to unsuccessful communication, and the meeting would be also not successful. Hence, sometimes it is very much important to limit your wandering thoughts and pay attention to where you are, to be 100% mentally present at the place you presently are, and worrying about the other problems later on when you're free with yourself. That is why we can really say that listening is the most important factor of any communication, and paying attention to others' words is very much essential. The next obstacle could be the use of jargon. Well, jargon over here basically means a technical terminology unique to a particular subject or a particular industry. Basically, it makes sense to use appropriate terms and effective words in a particular situation and in the industry where everybody understands those particular words. In contrast, use of difficult words at wrong places will only result into miscommunication and lack of understandings. of the original message. For example, in a particular corporate world situation, if new employees are having their induction going on, and on the first day itself, if the company's CEO has to welcome them to the organization, at such point it is tend to happen that the CEO of the organization might try to introduce them to the new environment that will be getting familiarizing to. In such scenario, he might use some heavy words or some technical words that are used only in that particular industry, or that could be very much new for these new employees. So using such words, such difficult words, will not be appropriate, because eventually it will not be understood by these new employees who are going to join the company. They might feel distant from their organization, they might feel isolated in their thought. This could be a barrier because it shows that particular person is not aware of certain words, and he feels intimidated and apprehensive because of such kind of behavior. Hence, one should be very much careful before using such difficult technical terminology in particular situation. One has to consider the situation, the environment, and the circumstances, and whether their audiences are aware of that particular technical word. Only in such scenario, when people are aware of all the technical words, you can use the jargon. Well, last but not the least, the next barrier, which is named as very common, is distraction. Well, external and internal distractions may also cause failure in any sort of communication. One has to focus on the message and the purpose of the conversation, and all the other thoughts and worries should be kept aside while communication begins. If both the sender and receiver give their 100% attention in the conversation, then there would be lesser chances of miscommunication. For example, attending personal calls in a client meeting may definitely lead to a miscommunication. Such distraction should be avoided. Also, coming across with totally irrelevant point in the meetings to divert the topics may also cause distraction in the communication process. The original message that has to be discussed will be hampered in such scenario. That is why one has to pay attention while discussing a particular point in the meeting, and all the irrelevant points should be eliminated to avoid such distraction. However, all these sort of barriers will be arriving in any sort of communication, may it be personal or professional, but they are definitely avoidable if we try to take proper precautions while communicating to a particular person. We can overcome all these barriers by considering particular points in mind, and by making amendments in the way we approach, by correcting our mistakes which we do it in the past, by learning from our experience, and by having an open mind to accept our flaws and to make improvement in our communication skills.